To become a millionaire, you need to understand the concept of the performance gap. This gap represents the difference between where you are now and where you want to be. Most people struggle with this gap and never reach their goal, while those who become millionaires obsess over closing it. The path to success isn't always smooth, but focusing on bridging the gap and staying committed, even when there are no other options, is key to reaching your financial goals. I promised myself to become wealthy quickly, so I focused on bridging the performance gap and became a millionaire in my 20s. Remember this: the money you make is directly tied to the value you provide. The bigger problems you solve, the more money you make and the faster you'll close the gap. To start, create a Venn diagram and list the things you need to do to bridge the performance gap. If I were doing this, I'd list things like racing cars, flying planes, traveling, and playing golf. You can add whatever excites you. Next, write down things you're good at, like having conversations, building models, leading teams, or carpentry. Lastly, list what people will pay you for, such as consulting, building structures, or designing complex mechanics. Most people focus on just one factor when choosing a job, which leads to problems. To succeed, you need a job that combines passion, skill, and high pay. This value zone is where true success happens. I found mine by combining my love for model helicopters, my skill in building models, and offering advice people are willing to pay for. I opened multiple model shops and created my own brand of models that I sold globally. The mistake most people make is trying to find a side hustle first and then forcing themselves into it. Instead, you should figure out your value zone and then choose the right side hustle. Now that you know your value zone, it's time to pick the right vehicle to get you to your goal. Would you rather have $1 million in assets or $1 million per year? To get both, you need two vehicles. One for making money, your active vehicle, and the other for investing. Think of your active vehicle like a motorbike. You can choose a product-based business, a content business like YouTube, or my favorite, a service-based business. Why is a service-based business my favorite, even though I produce products and make YouTube videos? It's all about timing, your career timing, not market timing. When starting, you want a side hustle that can make around $100K a year, but the business that takes you to $1 million or more will be different. Service-based businesses are ideal because they have low startup costs and can often be run from a laptop in your spare time. Look at your diagram and brainstorm a service you can offer within your value zone. Now, let's talk about investing money. Your passive vehicle is like the sidecar on your motorbike, like the one in Harry Potter. Many people treat investing like a side hustle, chasing quick riches, but investing is about growing your wealth over time. If done right, it's a set-and-forget tool. After creating your account, choose pies that represent different stock slices. For example, a pie with 25% Tesla, 25% Meta, and 50% Google. If you invest $100, it's split accordingly: $25 into Tesla, $25 into Meta, and $50 into Google. You can invest daily, weekly, or monthly. You can also use pre-made pies, like those focusing on dividend-paying companies. There are pre-made pies that focus on companies paying dividends or AI companies, but always do your own research before investing. Don't just trust the creators. Pre-made pies can give you ideas, but making your own is better. For beginners, you can start with the S&P 500 Index Fund, which allows you to invest in 500 of the largest U.S. companies with one click. The value projection shows potential returns based on historical averages. For example, investing £5 a day for 25 years could turn £45,000 into £1.04 million, and over 40 years, it could grow to £17.34 million. Yes, investing can be risky, but historically, if you hold stocks for more than 20 years, you won't lose money. Even the S&P 500 has had ups and downs, but all past dips since 1950 have been followed by market rises. The key is playing the long game. Sticking with your investments has made me millions without any work. That's why I'm a big fan of the S&P 500. Now that you've figured out your value zone, active income vehicle, and passive investment app, it's time to focus on the next step. One common myth is that you need 7 income streams to be successful. This often leads people to juggle too much, losing focus and slowing down. You have 3 limited resources: money, time, and energy. To visualize this, grab a piece of paper and 3 colored pens. List everything you do in life, then draw a graph divided into segments based on your list. Use one color to show how much money you spend on each activity, another for time spent, and a third for the energy required. You should end up with a graph that looks something like this. Here's the key. Your resources, money, time, and energy are always limited. While you can increase your money, you can't really boost your energy or time. When I do this activity with people, it's clear how they spread their resources thin across different areas of life. I get work-life balance, but when you're working to build wealth fast, you can't afford to be too spread out. When I built my first business, I worked relentlessly, sacrificing my social life, fitness, and family time. Was it healthy? Probably not. But did it make me successful? Definitely. I focused all my resources on one business for a long time. After becoming a millionaire, I focused on restoring balance in my life. But in the early days, distractions could easily derail me. Focus is crucial. Many young people jump from one side hustle to another, falling for shiny object syndrome. Constantly switching paths can delay progress. Look at your time, money, and energy and see where you can cut out distractions. For example, I'd eliminate TikTok, Xbox, and dating to focus on side hustles, speeding up my progress toward my dreams. As Jim Rohn said, if you really want to do something, you'll find a way. If you don't, you'll find an excuse. The key to success is overcoming obstacles, not making excuses. Looking back, my early years were tough. I struggled with dyslexia, and teachers labeled me as lazy and stupid. I left school without qualifications, and when I entered the workforce, I was bullied by my manager. These were huge obstacles, but I refused to let them become excuses. You might be facing your own obstacles, but overcoming them is key to achieving your dreams. If you let them turn into excuses, your dreams will stay just out of reach. Excuses, not obstacles, are why many never reach their goals. When someone tells me they can't do something, I ask, I know you can't right now, but if you could, what would you do? When faced with a tough obstacle, ask yourself the same question, brainstorm solutions, and write them down. The next step is to try your solutions. Some might not work, but persistence leads to success. Reaching 100K in net worth is key, and the compound effect plays a big role. As Einstein supposedly said, he who understands it, earns it. This applies not just to money, but also to knowledge. Most people stop learning after school, which holds them back. Early lessons, like math and English, are just the beginning. Continuing to challenge yourself helps you keep learning and growing. I started as a carpenter's apprentice and took on side hustles, learning valuable skills in the process. As you expand your knowledge, patterns begin to emerge, and each new lesson builds on the last. Consistent learning leads to accumulated wisdom, but without a strong foundation, gaps in your knowledge can cause you to fail. Closing the performance gap requires sacrifices, but remember, without them, your dreams become the sacrifice. Don't forget to subscribe,